It's really tough to go through huge chunks of data and analyze it. That is why we need to represent our data in the form of graphical format, which is also known as data visualization. In this video, we will learn how can you visualize your data using JavaScript library called chart.js. Within half an hour, we will learn all about chart.js from scratch. Without further ado, let's start. Hello and namaste everyone, this is Jitsaru with Coding Design. Welcome to our channel. If you are new here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's create index.html file. Inside that, if I type HTML design and hit that tab button, then you will get this basic HTML code. Now for the title, I'm giving chart.js full course for beginners, and along with that, let's give data visualization. Now in order to use that JavaScript library, you can visit this website chartjs.org. You can see it's open source. You will get 8 different types of charts. It also uses HTML5 canvas element, and along with that, it's responsive. Now let's check out documentation. For that, you can click get started button. You can see if you are using Node.js, then with the help of npm, you can install this library. Otherwise, we can use CDN. In this video, I'm gonna use CDN link. Okay. If you want, you can copy whole this snippet code to your page. Okay. But we'll go through line by line. So for that, we'll just copy this CDN link. You can paste that link just above the end of body tag, and also let's create div with class name car, and within that let's create a canvas element. It's necessary because this library works under the HTML5 canvas element, and let's give the ID. For the ID, I'm giving paragraph. I'm going to write JavaScript code in separate file. So for that, let's create a script.js file, and now let's give the link for our script.js file. Within that file, we're going to select this canvas element with ID bar graph. Let's create constant variable canvas, and I'm assigning document.querySelector. So we are selecting the canvas element with ID bar graph. Now in order to create proper chart, we need to create new chart object. For that, again I'm creating constant variable bar graph, and I'm assigning new chart. And within that, for the first parameter, it will take the canvas element where we will display our chart. So I'm passing the same variable named canvas. And for the second parameter, you can pass the object. Within that object, you can pass 3 different keys. For the first key, you can pass type of the chart that you want to display. Second key will be data, and third will be options. So later on, we'll explore all these properties. Okay. For the type, I'm giving bar. It's because I want to display bar chart. Let's give the comma, and now let's give the data object. Within that, now we'll give different labels for our chart. For the label, we'll pass array with different values. It will represent the values within our x-axis. So I'm giving different 7 months as value, and also don't forget to give the comma because later on again we are going to give another extra key. Or before that, with the help of live server extension, let's open this index.html file in our default browser. Right now in your browser you won't be able to see anything. Now let's give the data sets where you can give array of different objects. If you have multiple data, then you can pass multiple objects. Now let's give the data. If this is your first time, then I can understand. Yeah, it's kind of confusing. We are giving common names, but yeah, it's how it is. This library follows some data structure. So when you learn that, it's pretty easy. Again, for the data, let's give array, and I'm giving 7 different value because just above you can see for our label, we have given there 7 different months. So again, I'm passing the 7 different values as our data. Okay. We are trying to display bar chart. So you need to specify the type of chart, you need to give different labels and data. With the help of these 3 properties, you will be able to create bar chart. So let's check out in our browser, and you can see by default, you will be able to get that animated tooltip along with that CSS custom styles. So it's pretty cool, but you can customize as well. Like if you want to change the font color, size, different background color, you can customize each and everything. So now let's do that. Okay, before that, I think we need to give some basic CSS code. Okay, there are very few lines of CSS code. Therefore, I'm using internal CSS. Just below the title tag, let's give a style tag. Within that, within our root pseudo class, I'm going to declare 3 different CSS variables. For the primary variable, let's give this gray color. For the secondary, I'm giving white color. And for our text, let's give this dark gray color. For our inverse selector, in order to prevent browser default margin and padding, I'm giving margin and padding of 0. And in order to include all the borders padding within our width and height, let's give box size into border box. And also for the font family, let's give sans serif. Now similarly for the body tag, I just want to give minimum height of 100 px. Let's give display to flex. If I give justify content to center, then it will bring your content horizontally center. And in order to bring vertically center, you can give align items to center. I think it's better to give different title for our specific charts. Okay, so for that, within that H2 heading, let's give bar graph. Let's change the flex direction. I'm giving column. And also let's give the gap. I'm giving 2 rem. Yeah, this is perfect. And also for the body, let's give the background color. I'm giving that primary CSS variable. Now for the debit class name card, let's give the background color. I'm giving that secondary CSS variable. And also let's give padding of 1 rem. And in order to give that rounded corners, let's give border radius of 0.8 rem. And along with that, let's give box shadow. For the x offset, I'm giving 0. For the y offset, 0.1 rem. For the blur value, let's give 0.2 rem. And for the color, let's give this black color with transparent value or alpha value. In order to make our canvas element responsive, we cannot just give width and height of that viewport's height and width. It doesn't work in that way. Okay, so we are wrapping that canvas element within the div with class name card, and you can see there is important note. Our container, it must be relatively positioned and dedicated to that chart canvas only. You can see this code snippet as well. So for the class card, let's give position of relative. And also if I give width to 60 VW, I think it's better to give 80 VW. So in our browser, let's check out whether our chart is responsive or not. Okay. Now you can see when you take your screen to a small size, it's responsive, but as soon as when you increase the size of screen, it's not responding. Okay, but later on I'll give you the solution of this problem. But for now, you can see our labels title that is undefined, so we can change the title. Okay, so you can give the specific title for that dataset. I'm giving label to subscribers. Okay, in this way you can change the title of your label. And also if you don't like that sky blue color, you can give your own custom colors. For that, you can give the background color that is in camel case. Okay, and we'll give that within our array. So for the first color, let's give this pink color. In your browser, did you see that? You'll be able to get that pink color. But as you can see, we do have 7 different data. So if you want to give different color for a specific data, then you can give 7 different colors. So I'm adding 6 more different colors. In your browser, did you see that? Now you will be able to get 7 different bars within our bar chart. Similarly, you can give the border color as well. For that, again, you can give the border that is in camel case, and you can give just single color. For the color, you can use different color names, hexadecimal color, RGB color. It's your choice. I'm giving the black color. In your browser, you can't see any changes. So now we need to specify our border width as well. So for the border width, let's give 2 pixels. In your browser, did you see that? You'll be able to get that black border color. And also similar to our background color, you can give the different color for our border color as well. Okay, right now without border, it's looking pretty good. So I'm just removing this code. And also within our data set, we do have just single object with different data. So it doesn't make any sense to give that legend or the title of that chart. So let's remove that label as well. But in your browser, still you can see you'll be able to get that legend. In order to remove that, now you can use options object. So just after the end of data object, you can give there comma, and let's keep option object. For the options in your documentation, you can search the legend, and you can see we can use this key display. But if you check out namespace, you can see within our option object, first of all we need to pass the plugins, and after that legend. So for that, first of all let's create plugins object, and within that let's give the legend object, and only we can give display. Let's give false. In your browser, did you see that? Now you'll be able to hide that legend. Similarly, you can customize all these font size of our chart. For that, we can take the help of that chart object, and I'm writing dot defaults dot font dot size, and I'm assigning 16. Now in your browser, did you see that? We did change our font size, but I'll keep it the initial value, okay? So let's comment out this code. Similarly, you can change the color of this. For that, if you look at the documentation, you can see. Once again, we can use the same technique. I'm just taking the help of chart object and I'm writing dot defaults dot color. I'm assigning this dark gray color. Now in your browser, did you see that? You'll be able to get a bit darker version of that text color. Similarly, we can give our custom grid lines as well. So in order to customize that within our options object, once again, you can pass the value scales. That is also again object. I just want to hide that vertical lines. So within the X object, I can give their grid. Again, within that object, if I keep display to false, now you'll be able to hide that vertical grid lines, and also we can change that grid lines color along with thickness. So you can give the Y object. Within that, again, I'm taking the help of grid object, and within that, if I give line width to 2 and if I give color to crimson, now you can see take crimson grid lines. Yeah, in this way you can customize our grid lines, but I love the default styles, so I'm just going to comment out this code. Now let's make our vertical bar graph to horizontal. So in order to achieve that, once again within our options object, you can pass another key, index axis. So if I set it to Y, please don't forget to give the comma. Now in your browser, did you see that? You will be able to create horizontal bar graph, and it was just as simple as that. But right now, I just want the vertical bar graph. So let's comment out this code. Similarly, you can see these beautiful animated tooltips. You can customize that tooltips as well. So how you want to do that? Let's check out the documentation. If you go to this configuration and tooltip, you can see it has certain namespace. Within our options, within the plugins, we can pass that tooltip property, and within that you can use other properties as well, something like background color, title color. But for now, I just want to show you these two properties only, but you can check out other properties as well, okay? But as you can see, we have already passed our plugins property. So within that plugin, just give the comma. Let's pass the tooltip object, and within that you can give the background color. So for the background color, I'm giving purple. In your browser, did you see that? You will be able to get that purple color tooltips. Similarly, you can change the titles color as well. So you can give their title color to black. And in your browser, you can see you'll be able to change that title color of your tooltip. But I just love the default styles of our tooltip. So you can just comment out this code, okay? Now it's time to create another graph. Now let's create pie graph. So for that, you can just select this code and duplicate it. And let's change that heading to pie graph. And also I'm going to change that canvas ID to pie graph as well, okay? And you can copy that ID name. And once again, you can select hold this code and duplicate it. We don't need this code, just remove that. Let's change that variable name canvas to canvas2, and also we need to change that ID name to pie graph. Similarly, let's change that variable name to pie graph as well. And now for our chart type, let's give pie instead of that bar. All the labels, data, as well as background color, everything I'm giving the same value. So in your browser, did you see that? We did create our pie chart, and also we can create donut chart as well, okay? So for that, instead of that pie, let's give our chart type to donut. And for your reference, let's comment out this code and let's give their type to pie as well, okay? In your browser, this bottom of our pie chart, you can see different values with the scale. So we can just remove that, okay? So this code was given for our bar chart, so you can just comment out that code. Now yeah, it's perfectly fine. For our pie chart, we can change some different properties, okay? So now within that object, you can give the hover offset. I'm giving 45. In your browser, did you see that? When you take your mouse near to that donut chart, you will be able to get that beautiful animation. Not only that, you can change your background color as well. So for that, you can give the hover background color, and for the background color, you can give array of different colors, or you can just give single color. That's your choice. I'm just giving red color. Now you can see when you hover your donut chart, you will be able to get that red background color. Now for now, I just want to comment out this code. Now let's create another chart. You can select hold this code and duplicate it. We are trying to create line chart. So instead of that pie, let's change it to line. And once again, you can duplicate all this code. Let's change that variable name canvas2 to canvas3, and also I'm changing that id name to line graph, and along with that, let's change pie graph variable to line graph as well. Now for our chart type, let's give line instead of that pie, and in your browser, did you see that? You will be able to get that line chart. Now you can see that vertical grid lines, so I think we can uncomment that code. Okay, it's perfectly fine, but if you don't want to give that horizontal grid line, you can use the same technique as well. Okay, it's just that you can use y instead of that x. If you love that sharp edge lines, you can keep as it is, but I just love the curved lines. So for that, just below that background color, you can pass their tension property. Its value, it starts from 0 to 1. What if I give it to 1? You will get this weird curvy lines. So what if I give 0.4? It's perfect for me. Now you'll be able to get that smooth curvy lines. So it was our line chart. Along with our line chart, we can create area chart as well. So for that, if I give fill to true, now did you see that? You'll be able to create that area chart, and it's looking pretty good. Now for our area chart, instead of that different background colors, I want to give gradient color. Chart.js library, it doesn't provide any specific gradient color. So as you know, we are working under the HTML canvas element. We do have different methods with the help of which we can create our gradient color manually in our canvas. How? Let's check out. First of all, let's create our constant variable context. You can give any name, okay? And I'm assigning canvas dot get context. We are getting the 2D context, okay? And also let's create constant variable name gradient, and I'm assigning context dot create linear gradient, and within that you can pass 4 different parameters. For the first 2 parameters, it will take the starting x and y coordinates. I'm giving 0. And for the second 2 parameters, which is the ending, for the x I'm giving 0, and for the y, let's give 400. Now with the help of this value, you will be able to control the direction of your colors that you are going to use within your linear gradient color. Now you can just take the help of that gradient variable, and I'm writing dot add color stop. Once again, within this, you can pass 2 parameters. For the first parameter, it will take the position of your color and the value that has the range from 0 to 1. So that will help you to specify specific position of your color where you want to start from. So it starts from 0 and ends at 1. So I want to start it from 0. And for the second parameter, you can give name of any colors. I'm just going to pass the hexadecimal color code. I'm giving same pink color with some transparent value or alpha value, and you can duplicate the same code. And for the next color, let's give the stopping position to 1. By the way, you can use multiple colors, but right now I'm just using 2 colors. And for the second color, let's give this yellow color with alpha value. And now we have manually created our gradient color. For our background color, we can give the same gradient variable. And in your browser, did you see that? Now you'll be able to get that area chart with that beautiful gradient color. I think we can change that first pink color to something like red color with some alpha value, and also we can increase that y coordinates ending value as well, or something to 500. What if you want to change that rounded point size? For that, within that option object, you can pass another property, something called radius. If I give 8, okay, it's a bit huge. Let's change it to 4. But if you have noticed there, you have to take your mouse exactly at that circular points in order to get that tooltips. So we can change that range as well. For that, you can give another property, hit radius. And I'm giving 45. Now in your browser, did you see that? If you reach within the range of 45 pixels, then you will be able to get tooltips. You don't have to take your mouse exactly at circular points. And also, if you want to change that circular points background color, I mean like if you want to give different colors, you can give their point background color. So what if we just duplicate the same code and let's give point background colors. I'm giving the same colors that we have used previously. Now you'll be able to get different circular points with different background colors. But I just want to comment out that code, okay? Because I just love default styles. Now let's create another chart. Let's create mixed chart. For that, you can select this code and duplicate it, and let's change that heading as well as the canvas elements ID to something into fixed chart. And once again, I'm repeating the same process. Let's duplicate the same code and let's change different variables names and ID as well. So again, I'm changing that canvas variable name to canvas 4, and also let's change that variable name to mixed chart, and same goes for our ID name as well. Now we are creating mixed chart, so now we don't need to specify any type of chart. You can remove that. Now within our data set we can pass array of different objects. Right now we do have just one object. Now we can pass multiple objects with different data. So I just want to remove these codes, and for the first object let's give the type of bar, and you can remove that tension as well. We don't need that. And let's select this code and duplicate it. Don't forget to give the comma, and for the type instead of that bar let's give line. Now in your browser, did you see that? Now you'll be able to create that mixed chart. It's not limited to that bar and line chart. You can use different multiple charts. What if we want to change that line charts color? For that, let's give this border color to something into crimson. And in your browser, did you see that? You'll be able to get that crimson line, and also in your chart you can see you'll be able to get their undefined title. So let's give label. I'm giving subscriber. Let's duplicate the same code and bring it down there, and for our line chart let's give the label to views. In your browser, yeah, it's perfectly fine. Now let's create another chart, that is the polar area chart. You can select this code and duplicate it. Let's change our heading and the canvas elements ID to polar area chart. And once again, I'm just duplicating the code. I think it's like I'm repeating the same process and I'm explaining the same process. I think it's a bit boring. So yeah, you just change the variable names. Let's change our chart type to polar area. And in your browser you can see you'll be able to get this kind of pie chart, but yeah, it's a bit different. You can remove that border color. I think without border color it's looking pretty cool. Now let's create another chart, that is the radar chart. So once again, you can select this code and duplicate it. Let's change the title as well as the ID to something into radar chart. And once again, I'm just selecting this code and duplicating. Right now I just don't want to explain you much more about this because I'm just repeating the same process and I'm explaining you same thing again and again. I think it doesn't make any sense. Okay, so right now we are going to create our radar chart. So let's change that chart type to radar instead of polar area, and in your browser you can see you'll be able to get this beautiful chart. And also within the same chart type you can pass multiple objects within that dataset array, but this time I want to give different data value. Okay, and for the background color it will take just single color. So for that, from the same documentation, I just want to copy this background color along with that border color, just paste it there, and you can remove that background color. Instead you can give the point background color. And also for the second data you can copy this the background color along with that border color and paste it there. And instead of that background color, let's give point background color, and in your browser you can see this beautiful radar chart. Similarly, let's create another chart, that is the scatter chart. Now you can just select this code and duplicate it. And once again, let's change the heading as well as the ID of our canvas element to something into scatter chart. And in your JavaScript file, once again, I'm repeating the same process, just duplicate this same code and let's change this variable's name, ID name. And for the chart type, let's give scatter. But now when you are creating scatter chart, at that time we need to give some specific data with different structure, so it won't work. Okay, so just remove this data. Let's create a separate variable. Okay, first of all I want to show you like it does follow different data structure. In order to save some time, I just want to copy this code. Okay, you can just copy this code and paste it there. You can see within that data variable we are creating array of different objects, and within that you can see we are giving their x and y coordinates value, and all these values they are different with each other. Now you can pass the same data variable for our data property. Okay, I think something is wrong. It's because of that comma. Instead of that you can give semicolon. Okay, in your browser you can see you'll be able to get that scattered chart. Now last but not the least, let's create bubble chart. And once again I'm repeating the same process. Just select this code and duplicate it. Let's change the heading as well as canvas elements id to bubble chart. And also in our JavaScript code, let's select this whole code and duplicate it. And for the chart type, let's give bubble instead of that scatter. And also for our bubble chart, along with our x and y coordinates, you need to provide the radius. So for all the data I'm giving the radius, and for the radius let's give unique value. I think something is missing. Let's change that variable data name to data2. Just down there you need to change that data as well. Again, okay, I have forgot to change that id name to bubble chart. Okay, in your browser, did you see that? Now you'll be able to get that bubble chart as well. Okay, these are the 8 different charts, but I think we have created 10 different charts because I have shown you how to create vertical as well as horizontal bar graph, pie chart with donut chart and so on. Okay, in the starting of the video I have shown you when you take your screen to the small size, at that time our chart that was totally responsive, but whenever you are taking your screen to the bigger size, at that time there is some problem, but if you refresh it's working completely fine. How can we solve this problem? For that, within our option object you can pass their responsive, and if I give true, and also for the window let's give the resize event. For that I'm writing dot add event listener, so we are listening to the resize event. And within the callback you can take the same variable name bar graph, and I'm giving resize method. So this method, it is provided by chartjs library, as you can see. And also you can duplicate the same code, and also we can give that same resize method for our pie graph as well. So once again in our browser, if you resize your screen size, did you see that? You will be able to get that complete responsive chart. We can customize our animation as well, but it's a bit complicated, but I just want to show you this delay animation. So in your search bar, if you search delay, okay, you can copy this whole code and paste it within this options object. You can see that delayed variable that is not declared. So first of all, let's declare that delayed variable. Now in your browser you can see you will get totally different animations, and it's pretty cool. But in your browser now you can see this huge charts. I want to make it a bit small, so I think let's change that width to something into 50 VW. And also this was the light theme, but if you want to change it to dark theme, for that let's duplicate the same primary CSS variable, and instead of that gray color let's give this dark blue color, and for our secondary variable let's give light blue color. And also for the text I want to change it to white, but as you can see our headings color that is still black. So for our body, if you give text color to that CSS text variable, okay, now you can see that white text color. But in our graph now you can see you will be able to get that black color as well. So let's change it to white. So for that you can duplicate the same code, and let's change that text color to something into white. And also I want to change that grid lines as well. So for that you can duplicate the same code, and instead of that color you can give the border color, and let's change that white color to something into gray color. And in your browser you can see all the graphs in our dark theme. So yeah, if you have any kind of confusion regarding any specific property, then you can search that property within that search bar. You will be able to get all the information regarding that properties. But I just love the light theme rather than dark theme, so let's change it to light theme. And in your browser you can see for our pie chart, if you talk about these labels, I don't like that position. By default they do provide the position of top, so we can change that position as well. So how can I do that? As you can see, within the plugins object, I have already given the legend object, and within that you can give different positions, something like top, bottom, left, right. Right now I'm giving position to right, and also you can change the size of that legends as well. For that you can give specific height and width. For that, once again, you need to give the label object, and within that, if I give box width to 60, and also let's give box height to 60. Okay, it's a bit huge, so let's change it to 30. And also you can give the space between these labels. For that, let's give padding. I'm giving same value, 30. Now it's looking pretty cool. This library is pretty simple. There is another library called D3JS, which provides more than 60 different types of charts. There is another library called Plotly, which also works on the top of D3JS, but this library, it is a bit complex. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did learn something, smash that like button. If you have any kind of queries, let me know in the comment box. Share this video if you think someone needs it. And also, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button and also the notification bell icon. Remember, there is always more to learn, so keep learning.